Lineup change here at the CHGO Sports Studios. I'm the captain now. I'm in the captain's chair. Adam Jahns joining me. And Chris Emma from 670 Score. We've got a lot of action, NFL news picking up, so make sure you hang with us. It's CHGO Bears starting right now. Welcome back to CHGO Bears Podcast in the Xfinity Loft. I am your host, Greg Braggs Jr. This is awkward. I haven't worked in like 2 weeks. I don't know what I'm doing.
You are in charge now, my friend.
I don't know what I'm doing. I mean, I introduced Chris Emma incorrectly. Now I've learned the correction on 670 Score and 104.3. I knew you guys were on 104.3.
I've been called a lot worse, so it's okay. You got my name right. That's good. We'll go with that. 104.3, the Score.
Yeah.
FM quality, I think the boss wanted me to say. It's crystal clear. So
absolutely.
Especially baseball season, Pat and Ron.
Yeah, excited for it. Baseball season right around the corner. Chris Emma in studio, excited for that here all day. And, of course, Adam Jahns. I'm in the captain's chair today. Hoag's hanging out at home. It's President's Day, so all the kids are at home. You got your kids here in studio.
Yeah, we're just here shooting baskets.
My kid is watching Grammy at home right now, taking care of my mom. Shout out to Mom. And Hoag's back at home taking care of his kids. The kid on the show.
Yeah. The kid on Mark Carmen's on vacation.
And Mark Carmen, the kid, is on vacation.
The guy's life is a vacation. Like, he does not need it. That's the last person out there who needs a vacation. Just get back from the Super Bowl. He plays tennis like 8 days a week. It's nuts.
This is good.
I'm happy for Carm.
This is why he's on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Carm, if he's watching, he definitely would have thought on his bingo card it would have been me bus tossing him. But
he's watching, by the way.
Yeah,
he definitely plays bingo, right? He's of that age.
He's getting to the bingo age for sure. See, Carm, you would have thought I was going to be the first for the shots fired, but it's these two guys. So if you're keeping score here, appreciate everybody hanging out. We got a loaded show. We got a lot of stuff planned, a lot of movement in the NFL. Dolphins are the mass exodus, kind of being the first team of kind of making some different moves to reshape their team with Jeff Hafley, taking the reins over there in Miami. And obviously Bears fans are really dialed into this defensive line talk. So we're going to talk about that. We got some stuff here later on about the wide receiver room and how they're going to improve here next year for the Chicago Bears. So loaded show. We're going to get right into it because there's a lot to get into. We're a week away from the Combine, Jahns. And so there's this tough situation, right? Every year, you don't know who's going to fall to you in the draft. So you got to attack free agency a certain way, but how you balance the two is important to team building.
That all starts a week from today in Indianapolis. That's where you get the real feel for the players in the free agency market, what their prices could be, what their markets really are, what the competition will be, and you balance that off the draft picks, or the potential draft picks that are there, but we all know it starts with free agency, and we know where the Bears should spend their money starting on the defensive line.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking today, like, kind of getting ready for this and just refreshing my mind on Bears. Like, how nice it is you're not thinking, are the Bears top 10? Are they top 5? They're 25th.
Yeah,
like, that's where you want to be picking. It's so nice to be sitting here and talking about what's going to fall to them. This guy's not going to be here. The Bears are way too far down the first round. Like, this is what you want, is to be in this spot. So it's nice going to a combine week where you're not talking about a top 5 pick or the number 1 pick. You're talking about this team being way down there and the needs they have for a roster that's ready to get back and try to win the division again next year.
Yeah, it's definitely refreshing. It's also kind of challenges all of us as media and fans to dig a little deeper on how this team is going to hit another home run, because I think we can all agree last offseason was a home run in terms of how they built this team on the offensive side of the ball. They swung and missed with, Dio Dangbo, right? Grady Jarrett, I think, was a great locker room guy. He had contributions on the field, especially as the end of the year hit. But they need to, we've heard this a few times this offseason, but it's clear that they need to hit the same way they did on that offensive line last year on the defensive line this year. And if they can do that, I think it's easy to project them as Super Bowl contenders.
So the one player that you and I wanted to talk about was Trey Hendrickson.
Absolutely.
So where do you start the conversations if you're the Bears? Say we're inside Alice Hall right now. You're Ryan Pohl, since you're in charge. I guess I'm Jeff King, Trey Koziel over here. Like, what are you saying? Like, do you want him on this roster? Like, how much are you spending? How many years? Like, what's the term on this? Like, how do you feel about the acquisition or the potential signing, I should say, of Trey Hendrickson?
Well, I think it does start with dollars and years. What can you get him for? What is the market going? Will the Bengals let him get to the market? Because there's still, I think, conversation in Cincinnati of whether or not they're going to franchise tag him. I find that hard to believe personally, just we've been monitoring Trey Hendrickson for the last 2 years, right? And it doesn't seem like they get along very well. So why would they want to go through that again? That being said, if you're Cincinnati, you really don't want to just let him go for nothing. So whether they franchise tag him or they tag and trade, I think are kind of the first, dominoes that need to take place. But at the end of the day, for the Bears specifically, how much is he going to cost and how many years do you have to commit to? Because there is some precedent. I say only, but he's 31 years old. We're going to talk about some different guys on the market that are a little older that might be more of a stopgap, fill-in defensive end that's a veteran. But when the Bears signed Julius Peppers, I don't think anybody was saying he was too old when he came here. He was 30 years old when the Bears signed him to a 6-year deal. Trey Hendrickson's only 31, but I feel like he's kind of getting put in an older age bracket because of the injuries he sustained this last year.
I'm scared about the injuries. 31 years old, coming off core muscle surgery. Like, there's so many good edge rushers out there, both free agency and the draft. So many ways you can upgrade this defensive line. I love Trey Hendrickson as a player. That's been somebody on my wish list for a few years now. If there was a trade or some possibility, I'm really concerned about that injury history. I feel like that price is going to be really high for him. I'd rather look to the alternatives. If the price is right, the years are right, it all makes sense, by all means, I'm happy to do it. He's going to be an excellent fit, familiarity with Dennis Allen, with that defensive identity. He'd be a plug-and-play guy, but I worry about his injury history and coming off this surgery now. Is he going to go back to being that Trey Hendrickson? Because that's what you're going to be paying him to be, is the guy who's going double-digit sacks consistently, and I got a lot of concerns right now.
Well, maybe Albert Breer could help with those concerns. We talked to him last week or 2 weeks ago now. I'm losing track of my days because I didn't work last week. Was working hard at home. Thank you very much. But, we did talk to Albert Breer at the Super Bowl, and he had some thoughts about the potential of Trey Hendrickson coming to the Chicago Bears, and we talked at length about it. But there was a particular part in the interview where he kind of hinted at maybe he was Trey Hendrickson protecting himself a little more than what the injury indicated in terms of missing the rest of the season after he came out.
Easy one for one, like as far as that goes, might be Trey Hendrickson. Yeah. If you're talking about an older guy where you're betting on track record, he's been a really good player over the years. He's beat up last year. You could argue some of that was maybe him pacing himself a little bit based on the contract situation and the way things have gone there in Cincinnati, but Trey would be one where you would look at him and say, okay, like there's a long track record here. Yes, he's older, but we can at least get a year or two of production out of him. And then, maybe you draft somebody in the first round to throw in the group, so.
And there's a connection to Dennis Allen.
And there's the connection to Dennis Allen. So there are other ways to make it work other than just Max Crosby. But, that position isn't, as you guys know, an easy one to fill. When you have a great one, you generally don't let him go.
So Trey Hendrickson gets injured in Week 6 against the Packers. They're trying to figure out what the injury is. He comes back a couple weeks later, can't even finish the game, ends up coming out for the season. Core muscle, he gets the core muscle surgery on December 9th. He's on track to already be full go at this point in terms of his offseason rehab and getting back up to speed just from, his offseason regiment. But this is a guy, like, to me, when you look at pass rushers, aging pass rushers are always a concern, and Bears have tried different ways, worked with Robert Quinn for a year, hasn't worked with others. But I just feel like those guys that have been there and done that, they always find a way to get their production. Yes, he only had 4 sacks last season. He only played in 7 games, but we're talking about a guy that's had 39.5 sacks since 2001. He knows how to get to the quarterback. So to me, when you hear Albert Breer say, maybe you can get him for 1 or 2 years, if the Bengals were to let him get to the market and he wants to try to bet on himself for 1 year, is that something that would make the most? I mean, to me, that's like the most optimal thing that could happen for the Bears.
All right, so let's say you're the Bears. You're at the Combine. You hear good things about where Hendrickson is at medically. Like, everything is positive. You know he's only a year removed from 17.5 sacks. He was an All-Pro just a year ago. You feel good where he's going to be physically come the start of training camp. And when the Bengals, they change the conversation a bit. Like, do you entertain that tag and trade scenario? That's a lot of money for the tag.
Yeah.
And obviously there's going to be a new deal after that. But how much? How many years do you add on to a deal for someone who's 31?
Right. To me, Chris,
3-year max on a deal?
That's what scares me is the tag and trade, because now you're upping the ante in terms of price. I'd rather see what the market thinks of Trey Hendrickson. And maybe it's still going to end up being over $25 million. But I want to see if the market will reset for him, to see if you can get him at a lower price, or if Trey feels that is what's happening to him and says, I'm just going to take a 1-year deal, bounce back, and then get my final big contract.
Does he want a 1-year deal, though? I mean, this is a guy who's been going to the tag and looking for his future for the last few years now, trying to figure out what's next for him. Where can he lock in? I don't know if that's going to be something he wants to do in the open market.
That's fair. Even
coming off the injury history, I think he's looking for 31 especially, like, get him that long-term security, somewhere he can finish out his career. And maybe it's the Bears. I'm scared about a 31-year-old coming off core muscle surgery.
You see with the tag and trade situation, like, the Bengals won't do it, I think, if they don't have that willing partner. Like, if you're the Bears, I don't think you have to be a willing partner. I think, like, look at the Dolphins releasing Bradley Chubb today. Like, there's going to be other veteran free agent pass rushers available. Like, the more there are available, the better this is for the Bears, because they're not going to be the only team out there looking for pass rush help. Everybody needs help up front. Now, the Bears maybe have less financial flexibility than some other teams. They can't spend big, but they are a playoff team. So I think that will interest a lot of free agents, especially later ones who want to go win. That could be Trey Hendrickson. But if I'm the Bears, if I'm Ryan Poles, if I'm Jeff King, and the Bengals ask about a tag and trade, I'm saying no thank you. I think there's going to be enough free agent pass rushers on the market. We could pass in Hendrickson. Even though you want Hendrickson, you have to play your cards a little bit there.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. You have some different options. We're going to be talking about those options here when we come back. But I also think it's going to be interesting. You know, Ryan Poles has got to get creative, right? I mean, it wasn't just a straight up free agency and draft. They found a way to trade for Joe Thuney. They found a way to trade for Jonah Jackson, right? So there's opportunities, I think, for the Bears to look. You know, I've brought up Chris Jones a few times. Where are the Chiefs at from an organizational standpoint? Can you get creative and find one of those difference-making pass rushers outside of just free agency and the draft, like they did last year with the offensive line? So I think those are going to be key.
Yeah, I mean, a year ago we were talking about Trey Smith, and it was Joe Thuney that comes available, future Hall of Famer.
Someone was talking about Trey Smith a lot.
I was too. I was too, and like rightfully so. But like, that's the beauty of this. You don't know. February 16th, whatever it is today, you don't know how it's going to work out in a few weeks from now. A lot can change between now and then. So I'm fascinated to see how this goes. But we know Ryan Poles is going to be active and find out whatever he can to leave no stone unturned.
Let me ask you a question. Would you rather have Trey Hendrickson on like a 3-year deal with two of those years being guaranteed, or would you rather give up some draft capital, a lot of draft capital, and trade for Max Crosby?
Man, probably Hendrickson. You're in such a great place now looking toward the long term with hopes of sustained success. And Ryan Poles had to dig out of the mess that was left before him. And here they are now, the NFC North champs, and looking long term of take the North and never give it back. I don't want to risk. They're not one player away from winning a Super Bowl, as great as Max Crosby is. The last 2 Super Bowl champions, the Seahawks and the Eagles before them, unbelievable defensive lines. You saw that shine in the Super Bowl. Neither of those teams had a player more than 8.5 sacks. Nobody in double digits for that. There was no Max Crosby. As great as he is, they had depth. They took quantity over quality in one single player there. That's the mold I want the Bears to follow. We heard Ryan Poles a year ago talking about the Eagles winning the Super Bowl, saying that you saw that in the last game of the season, how much that depth matters. I think that's what is on his mind again here. So I think that's the way to go.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that sentiment in terms of the defensive lines we saw this year. The Eagles, they not just had depth, they had dominance too. Like they had stars across their defensive line, but then they also had the waves to go along with that. So maybe there are some people that have come from that Eagles tree that could be available. And we're going to be talking about that here coming up next. We're going to stick on this defensive line conversation. It's going to be a lot of defensive line talk coming up over the next couple weeks with the Combine a week away. We got Bears After Dark here later tonight. Fran Duffy's going to join. We're going to be looking at some of the defensive end options in the draft as well. So all the NFL draft and free agency talk coming your way over the next month and a half, but don't go away. And when we come back, we'll bring up some other veteran options that Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson, Dennis Allen can be looking at.
Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. New customers now get $200. That's $200 in bonus bets when you bet $5, win or lose. You watch the Olympics?
I am locked in. So is my mom.
Okay.
We love the Olympics.
You got Germany, France, Switzerland, Italy. That's men's ice hockey tomorrow on their Bet365. So breaking news here from Bet365. Playoff season is here, and new customers now get $200 in bonus bets when you bet $5, win or lose. Sign up, use the code CHGO365, deposit $10, and place a bet for $5 to get $200 in bonus bets if your bet wins or loses. Bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 plus. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, crisis counseling and referral service can be accessed by calling 1-800-GAMBLER, in-app only.
Absolutely. Shout out to Bet365, hitting them up for the Olympics and some NBA action. And shout out to our good friends over at Game Day Men's Health. Got to get to know them a little bit on the tailgate scene. I'm missing our tailgates with CHGO Bears, but they were out there serving the people and serving you, because if you're starting to feel like you have low energy throughout the day, and hey, it's winter, that happens, right? You know, the seasonal depression kicks in. Well, Game Day Men's Health is going to help you get motivated and get that drive. You want to see that scale move up and the hair fall out, muscles tightening up. Well, this is who you got to hit up, is Game Day Men's Health. They're going to help you move those in the direction you want to be. It's all about low testosterone. You got to look to lock that in. It's a very quick and easy process. You'll be in and out in an hour. Personal care, family, local owned clinics, extremely high success rate. So start your best life with Game Day Men's Health, and check out the locations in Skokie, Naperville, Libertyville, and more, or scan the QR code you see here on your screen to find the closest one to you, and go to GameDayCHGO.com to find the locations and hit them up. It's help Carm, it'll help you. All right,
we are always looking out for Carm.
Yeah, I love Carm, you know. I love him, and I want to kill him every day. But I agree with Deputy Dog here in the chat in regards to this conversation we're having. And he says Hogan John's episode with Patrick Norton, who's sitting over here. Go scroll down there, Steven. Little up. Patrick Norton joining Hogan John's last week. And you guys did a great job of breaking down the roster and looking at the contract situations. I think you brought up a really good point about the offensive line guys and how there are contracts all end at the same time. You look at the rookie contracts that you have with, you know, obviously Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze and all these different factors you have to play in. You know, even a guy like Luther Burden, who's in the second round, you're not going to get that 5 years. He's not from a first round type, right? So there is going to be a collision path that comes up in a couple years. So there's this balance of they need to go for it. They need to try to win the Super Bowl. I know you say they're not one player away, and I agree with that. But they need to go for the Super Bowl these next 2 years while Caleb Williams is on a rookie contract. But the balance of doing that without mortgaging your future for when these huge decisions for your youngest players then come into play, that's going to be the balancing act for Ryan Poles. No more rebuilding anymore. Now it's about
winning.
bolstering and winning.
So let me paint the picture for everyone watching at home right now and listening later. Chris Emma's here. So the Bears don't have a salary cap problem. They really don't. I know they're over. A couple restructures can fix that. One release can fix that. They're not in salary cap hell. They're not the Saints. So, but the Bears do have this unique 2-year window, 26 and 27, where they have Joe Thuney, Drew Dahlman, and Jonah Jackson. That's the interior offensive line, all under contract. So in 2026, the Bears have 57 players under contract. In 2027, they have 30 players under contract. In 2028, they have 11 players under contract.
Wow.
And in 2029, there's only one player under contract. That is wide receiver DJ Moore. So they have this unique window where they could really build towards something, pick the players they really believe in, like Darnell Wright. He's going to get a contract. Caleb Williams, that's going to change the books. This all lines up with that rookie contract that Caleb Williams has, but it also gives you a unique opportunity to add an important piece, whether it's a Trey Hendrickson, maybe trading for a Max Crosby. Like, this is a unique window for the Bears to take advantage of.
I'm going to go back to what I said before. I love the idea of adding that one piece and getting that superstar. Max Crosby is incredible. Like, put that kind of Bears uniform, fantastic. You know what you're getting. You got a superstar, game-changing player, somebody who makes that difference on the defense. But I love the idea of that quantity over quality. I want 2 or 3 guys. This has to be, you talked about it, Braggs. I completely agree. What they did on the offensive line last year, you're doing on the defensive line. You're getting 3, 4 guys. You're loading that thing up. D-tackle, D-ends, passer, everything you got to bolster this group, because you need that depth there, and you've seen the way that you can win a Super Bowl with that. You know what you have in this roster. This defense is built with talent at linebacker, with talent certainly in the secondary as well. You need those pass rushers to make the difference. You need run stuffers as well, because this run defense was not good enough. You need a bunch of difference makers, and you can do that effectively in free agency this offseason. So you got a great opportunity. You got that flexibility now, and you're obviously, you just look to the future. I mean, Caleb Williams has that. He's going to get his contract extension perhaps next offseason, and it's going to be a big money deal because he is a franchise quarterback in the making here. You saw it this past season. You got Darnell Wright. You mentioned he can go all down the line of guys you're re-signing here in the coming years, and that's a great problem to have. But you also have to work around that carefully and cautiously, knowing that you want your championship window to be wide open for a bunch of years here.
Well, and the reality is you want those waves. You want that draft equity. You want that talent on the defensive line, but Max Crosby was a 4th-round pick. I'm not saying you're going to be able to hit on that every year, but if you give yourself that opportunity, you get creative, you get veterans in here like we're about to talk about, that gives you that opportunity, that flexibility of getting creative in the draft to try to find those diamond in the roughs. And don't write off Austin Booker, who had a fantastic second half of the season. I don't think he's Max Crosby Jr., but at the same time, when you talk about guys that had an impact on that defensive line at the end of last year, every game he'd make 2 or 3 plays that were impact plays. So I think they're in position that of power right now between some of the things they can do to get creative and some of the long-term flexibility options they're going to have with the cap going past this year. So let's talk about some of those different options. And I know you wanted to start with Cam Jordan because everybody's going to continue to point to ties to Dennis Allen. I think those are the easiest ways to try to draw connections. And the coaching staff did prove last year, hey, we're going to bring in guys we're familiar with, right? CJ Gardner-Johnson was somebody that had that familiarity. DeMarco Jackson in a point of need they brought in. Even Al Harris signed off, to bring in Deshaun Wright. You had the other defensive end that I can never pronounce his name that you might be able to pronounce that they brought from the Saints. Tanasa.
Keep going.
Right. I'm not even gonna butcher it.
You were all over it.
Thank you. I was almost there.
We got time. Keep trying.
Passing way. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's hard to pronounce. Patrick Norton, everybody. But the whole point is...
Speak louder.
Yeah, louder, son. But regardless, Cam Jordan, I think, is somebody, while he is longer in the tooth, 36 years old, turning 37 in July, could be an option that they look at.
So he's on record saying that he would like to play. I know there was some buzz about him returning to the Saints, but if you're Cam Jordan and Dennis Allen calls you, hey, we just made it to the divisional round of the playoffs. Did you watch what Caleb Williams did this year? You want to talk to Ben Johnson? What did you think about it? Good, better, best. Did you see what we were doing in Chicago? Do you want a chance at something here. Like if you're Cam Jordan and Dennis Allen calls with a 1-year deal from the Chicago Bears, is it like, do you think that's impossible to refuse? Like how drawn are you to staying in New Orleans for 1 more year? Or do you want to go and try and win something when you're turning 37 in July? And he's coming off a pretty darn good year.
That surprised me. When you brought him up and I looked into it a little deeper, not that I'm following the Saints too hard during the season, I knew he had started to take a step back a few years ago. I didn't realize how much of a bounce back year he had last year.
And he was 5th for the Pro Football Focus in run defense. Like, that's a guy who can play the run and the pass, who's coming off a year with a bunch of sacks. What's the number you guys got?
10.5 sacks.
Yeah, like a terrific season for Cam Jordan in his mid-30s. And this guy is, when you talk about Ryan Poles building the roster the right way and getting, like, leaders in that dude's a captain, Walter Payton Man of the Year finalist. Like, that's somebody you want in your locker room, similar to Joe Thuney, Grady Jarrett, Kevin Byard, those difference makers. Like, add those points in as well. Does he want, you mentioned New Orleans, it's wonderful to be a career Saint, to be a career player in one spot. They've been rebuilding for a bunch of years there. They're not going to be, maybe they can sneak in that awful South Division and win that, but like, they're not going to be having some kind of breakthrough season there. Don't you want to go out and finish with a contender and be with the familiarity of Dennis Allen and a team that's on the rise? Like, he could still be a beloved Saint. He's not leaving that behind. Go to Chicago and play for a contender. I love that fit for the Bears. I love that fit for Cam Jordan, too. And we talk about the kind of moves you want to make with this salary cap, a 1 or 2 year deal with a high premium and reward a guy who's coming off a strong season and can be a really big asset for your defense. I love that fit.
You're not asking him to be the Pro Bowler that he was a few years ago. You're asking him to be a rotational piece that comes on mainly almost specifically in third down situations to go get the passer. I like this move almost more than like than others because it keeps your salary cap safe. It keeps your draft capital in line because you have other issues you have to address with that draft capital. You need a starting safety. You might need a left tackle or at least add to that competition a little bit. So the idea of Cam Jordan, yes, I know he's in his late 30s, turns 37 in July. We should say that again and again and again. But if you're Dennis Allen, I think your pitch to him is so simple and straightforward. Mm-hmm. Come and win with the Chicago Bears. Come and play with me 1 more year. Come be on the same team as Caleb Williams. Let's go make a run at a Super Bowl.
Yep. I mean, then the guy that I'll never give up on, I'll never quit on is Khalil Mack. And if you'd asked me a year ago at this time, I would have bet you that Khalil Mack was going to come back to the Bears. I know how much he loved his time here in Chicago. You guys would know that better than me in terms of covering him in the locker room. Does he want to go from sunshine and warmth in California, come back to Chicago? I know he had the elbow, the dislocated elbow that certainly, hindered his year, but he just showed me toughness. He comes back from that, finishes out the season. I watched a handful of their games. He's still the game wrecker. When he gets to the quarterback, he's a disruptor. He gets the ball out. He had 4 forced fumbles, tied for second in the NFL. Not sure when you talk about Cam Jordan and Khalil Mack, like what their price tags would be at their age. Khalil Mack turns 35 in a few days here. To me, that's another guy that if he was willing to come back, I'm never going to have any problem putting, because I know what he brings to the table in that huddle, in that locker room, and on the field.
My understanding last year was that there was mutual interest, that the Bears were interested in a reunion with Khalil Mack, and he was interested in coming back to Chicago. LA's home for him. That's a comfortable spot. I'm sure he would love to be back with the Chargers in that spot, but it makes so much sense. And let's differentiate between, when we talk about injuries, the elbow issue versus what Trey Hendrickson's had, where that could have a significant impact on Trey Hendrickson's production and explosion and what he brings back in this phase of his career. You know what you're getting in Khalil Mack. He still is a high-level player. He's not the guy stacking, all-pro type seasons, but he's going to be a difference maker for this defense. He's a disruptive presence. He's something that you have to really match up with on that defensive line, because he can just wreck a game at times still, even at the age of 34 going into 35. So I love that fit. And when he was in Chicago for the first time, he was the superstar for a team and a defense-led team in 2018. And He's not a guy who loves the spotlight. He doesn't want to be the center of attention. He wouldn't have to be that now. He could be a complementary piece for this team. I think there's a lot more comfort for Khalil Mack now than there would have been that first time through. I think it's a really good natural fit. He's going to get a lot of opportunities elsewhere. This guy wants to win a Super Bowl, and I think coming back to the Bears for a different phase. Remember, that trade of him when Ryan Poles first came and marked the rebuild, it'd be bringing it a full circle now to bring it back to a contending team with championship aspirations, and I know there'll be a draw for him.
All right, so where does Bradley Chubb, just released by the Miami Dolphins, where does he fit in this conversation? Like, if you had to start ranking these players, again, let's pretend to be inside Halas Hall, and you're writing all these players up on the whiteboards that are on the walls of the office of Ben Johnson and Ryan Poles. Like, how are you ranking Trey Hendrickson, Bradley Chubb, Khalil Mack, and Cam Jordan?
I'd be surprised how high Bradley Chubb would be on that ranking for them. I don't know if he makes, I was talking with my buddy Joey this morning, and I agree with him that it doesn't, from a fit standpoint, that Jeff Hafley releases him. He's a 3-4 linebacker, right? They play a 4-3, Jeff Hafley does. Well, so does Chicago. So how much, I know he's talented. So if the Bears signed him, you're not going to see me complaining. They need help on the defensive line. But I just don't know if there's a fit there. So if you're asking Trey Hendrickson, Khalil Mack, Cam Jordan, Bradley Chubb's at the bottom of those names that we brought up.
The difference there is he's 29, and he's coming off a stellar season in Miami. Like, this is a guy who is somebody, you talk about, I talk about being careful with some of these deals and preferring a 2-3 year deal for a veteran like a Cam Jordan. Bradley Chubb's the exception. This is a guy who's popped with production, and he's just 29 years old, just entering the prime of his career still with a few more good years left. Like, I'm a lot more willing to look at the Bradley Chubb file. I want to know the scheme fit's going to be there, and I believe it will be. I think he's going to pop with production with his defense, playing alongside of Montez Sweat. He's going to be a multiplier for this entire defensive front of this entire defense. So I really like that fit more for a long-term deal than, say, a Trey Hendrickson, who's 31, and as I mentioned, coming off core muscle surgery. So I'm much more willing to look at that contract than I am Hendrickson.
Carm Sweet Bippy in the chat. Wanting Chase Young to be a part of this conversation. I know that there were some other names you had holstered in the holster as well, as we got a couple more minutes to kind of kick this around before we kind of move on from this. But there is as much as it's not easy to find pass rushers, it does feel like the Bears will have some options here.
Yeah, there's a lot of names like Marcus Davenport, Joey Bosa, Hassan Reddick, Leonard Floyd, Draymond Jones. Weren't the Bears in the picture for Draymond Jones just a few years ago? Yeah. And obviously, Leonard Floyd, former Bear. Marcus Davenport has his connections to Dennis Allen coming from the Saints. To me, like, the question here is with all these players is how much are you willing to allocate? Like, how much of your salary, how much of your books do you want to have allocated to fixing this pass rush?
Yeah. When
you already have Dayo Odangbo and Grady Jarrett, I know you could get out of their contracts after 2026. That's another important part of this conversation, is that you have some flexibility coming up here in a couple of years. Like, what do you do? How much do you spend? Like, are you willing to commit 3 years and a lot of money to Trey Hendrickson, or do you want that 1 year fix with a Mack or a Cam Jordan? Like, that's the question I think that needs to be debated right now in Halas Hall.
And I know we're focused here on the free agent options and the veterans out there, the guys that we know, but this draft is loaded with edge rushers and defensive linemen. And, like, this is the strength of the draft, the strength of the first round, and you're sitting there with pick 25 feeling really good about your position to add a disruptive player. So, like, talk about the compliment of adding a guy like a Cam Jordan at age 36 and then adding a player at pick 25, somebody can add to that defensive line. I love the options here. This is a great place for the Bears to be right now, where you know what you got to do to improve this defense, and you got opportunities to do it.
Well, let's bait another hypothetical. What if the best option is taking the best defensive tackle or best pass rusher on your board at number 25, but before that, you're signing Cam Jordan and maybe Marcus Davenport to 1 year deals? Like, that deepens your roster up front, and you have a young guy coming in to mix and match. Like, is that your best option when you have this window and you want to maintain some flexibility going forward?
Sign me up for that. I want to be so careful with this championship window because it's wide open. And you spent 3 years of struggling to get this thing off the ground. Here you are. This season was stellar. It was so much fun. We enjoyed the hell out of it. And the beauty of it is, you got the quarterback now. Caleb Williams is your guy. You go through this thinking your window is going to be wide open for many years if you do this right. But you can also damage that window and damage what you have with a young franchise quarterback because you take on some bad contracts and your books are bad and you got to start trading away players and you're leaving that quarterback hanging out to dry. So I know Ryan Poles thinks about this. We hear it all the time from him, and he's genuine about not wanting to blow up their salary cap flexibility, their draft assets, everything that they've got going for them right now. That's all part of this window. You don't want to put that at risk. You don't want to have that in peril. Your chance is wide open here, and it should be wide open. As he said, take the North and never give it back. You're taking the North now. Be careful moving forward here.
Well, and when Ryan Poles spoke to the media at the end of the season, I did think it was revealing when he answered the question about Max Crosby. He was essentially asked about it, but he said, I've had to learn that maybe I shouldn't make the move that everyone wants me to make. And I don't know if he was just saying that, just to say it in the moment, or if that was a revelation of how he's evolved as a GM and how he's changed, especially over the last year with this coaching staff kind of leading him to who they need. And I think the other aspect of this, as we wrap this end of the discussion up, don't forget, Shamar Turner, who they drafted to be a D tackle, was doing better on the edge. And then Dio Dangbo, who they brought in to be your DN, was doing better on the interior. And how they figure out those two guys this offseason and how they're going to prioritize them for what their role is on this defensive line is also going to play into how they're going to make these decisions here in free agency and the draft as well. So we're going to switch topics. I know the Iceberg put a challenge to everyone in the chat saying if we get to 115 likes, and if you're familiar with the program, Iceberg is been doing a lot of these challenges here lately. He's going to donate 20 YouTube memberships to the chat if we get to 115 likes. So I fully expect to get to 115 likes by the time we come back from the break, and then you guys will get that. The YouTube memberships are great. You get a free super chat. You get a lot of different aspects that give you some advantages here to our CHGO Sports YouTube channel. So don't go away. When we come back, we're going to switch gears and talk about the wide receiver room, specifically Rome Odunze, Colston Loveland, and some different guys that get their hands on the football. So when we come back, let's get to 115 likes.
Every Tuesday in February, your wing cravings can make a difference. Hooters is donating a portion of chicken wing sales to Holy Family Schools, helping fund tuition, books, classroom supplies, and more for kids in under-resourced communities. With the support of our Chicagoland Hooters family, we've raised over $1 million since 1992. Let's keep it going because kids can't fly without wings. You like Hooters wings?
Love Hooters wings. There's a few things I love more in this world.
Best lunch spot in town. Weekdays just got better with some of your Hooters faves for $9.99 or less, like boneless wings. Check it out. So cheer on your favorite teams from any of the 11 Chicagoland Hooters locations. There's one by my house in Park Ridge, or that's actually Chicago, right by O'Hare. So check it out. So check them out at originalhooters.com. Wings, blackened chicken Caesar salad, the original burger, and so much more. Fantastic food.
Yep, as good as it gets, and perfect time of year when it's March Madness to go over to Hooters and watch the game. So shout out to Hooters and shout out to our good friends over at Huel. If you know anything about me, you know I got to have one protein shake a day. That's how I finish my day every single day, and Huel is helping me do that. And hey, you've got to make sure you are not moving away from your goals. Huel is the perfect solution for high protein, routine support, busy days, and convenience. That's what they do. When Huel says you're ready to drink, that's what they do. For breakfast, post-workouts, meetings, school drop-off, errands, and more, they are always going to be there for you. 35 grams of protein, 27 essential vitamins and minerals, gluten-free, under $5 per meal. It's a complete meal that you can have right at your fingertips. Get Huel today with our exclusive offer of 15% off online with the code BEARS15 for new customers only. Thank you to Huel for partnering and supporting our show. That's Huel.com/Bears15. If you're busy, this is a game changer. The game changer it is, just like Iceberg is a game changer. especially for the Titanic once upon a time. This game changed. I'm sorry. Was it too soon?
Way too soon.
Too soon? I mean, come on.
I think we're 116 though.
Yeah,
we
we hit 115
Let's go.
likes. We hit Iceberg's challenge. So 20 YouTube memberships, compliments of the Iceberg, the infamous Iceberg. We appreciate him. But let's get into it. We stretched out B block a little bit to give you some defensive end talk. So we're going to play this interview. TJ Houshmandzadeh was at Radio Row a couple weeks ago. Had an opportunity to talk to him because I know he's worked with Rome the last few years. So wanted to pick his brain about that. He actually reveals some things about some other guys he's going to be working with here this offseason. So we're going to play that interview, and then when we come back, we'll have more of a discussion about kind of some of the things we heard and obviously have a bigger discussion about what Rome Odunze can do here coming up next year to solidify himself as what I believe he can still fully be the number one wide receiver on this offense. So here is TJ Houshmandzadeh live at Radio Row from San Francisco. Here at Radio Row with TJ Houshmandzadeh. How you doing today, man? Appreciate you coming on.
I'm good, man. How you doing?
Yeah, hanging, man. Just trying to get through this. We were hoping the Bears were going to be here. They kind of blew up this season. They had a pretty we're not used to in Chicago having that explosive of an offense. It had to be pretty impressive from your perspective.
I thought as the season went on, they obviously improved. Caleb Williams started to play better. But this is what I expected when Ben Johnson took the job. I assumed the Bears would be in that position. I did.
Yeah. You worked with Rome a little bit, right, on the side?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he obviously was just taking off like a rocket to start the year, and then injuries started to get in the way. Not easy to deal with a foot problem while you're trying to play wide receiver. I mean,
it's tough. Rome is funny. I'm smiling because Rome just texted me yesterday, so we'll get back going here in a couple weeks. They just hit me up yesterday. I'm going to be working with quite a few of the Bears.
Yep.
Quite a few of the Bears skill guys, so.
Luther give you a ring?
I mean, working with no, I don't know him, so no, to answer the question.
Okay.
I think the Bears, because I think highly of myself.
Sure.
They'll be a lot better. I really do. They'll be a lot better next year, the skill guys. Rome will have a great year. Coastal Loveland will have a great year.
Oh, yeah.
I love that dude. That motherfucker can play. Excuse my language.
No, you're good.
But yeah, I think Coastal Loveland has a chance to be the best tight end in football. He's that good.
Yeah, I mean, well, I know as a Bears fan first, media idiot second, I'll just tell you, Bears fans appreciate you putting in the work for the Bears players, man. It's certainly showing, and obviously, I think Rome's going to be out here later today. We're talking to Colson a little bit too, but just curious from your perspective with Rome, because like when he came out of college, like everything everybody ever said from Washington is like he's a hand catch guy, right? And now, the more throws you get at a wide receiver, you're going to have more drops, right? With the higher number of throws coming your way, you're going to have drops. But that's been a big talking point. Ben Johnson said after the season, like, that's one of the main things they're going to look at. Nobody's trying to – it's like a free throw. Nobody's trying to miss a free throw. Nobody's trying to drop a catch. Yeah. But what is some of the teaching points in terms of trying to improve that from year to year?
You're going to drop the ball. Like, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, they the best basketball players. They miss shots. They miss lots of them. You're going to drop the fucking ball.
Right.
Like, nobody is perfect. Now, we just can't drop the ball when it matters the most. A lot of drops, the majority of drops are just a lack of concentration. And so you just got to force yourself to lock in a little more and just be aware that, okay, I want to, in the offseason, see the ball all the way into the tuck. You start doing that, the drops will be very minimal. When you catch the ball how he caught it in college, great hand-eye coordination, doesn't worry me one bit.
Well, what's the difference between Michael Penix?
Walk away from me.
I think we're good to see you. Good to see you.
Where you headed to?
Probably go to some gifted place. I'm getting, my different side. I gotta get all the free shit that you get.
Oh, y'all really going? Oh, I knew that was coming. It was just,
Steve Smith over here.
Yep, I'll be there. Okay. All right. Sorry.
No, you're good. Steve Smith dropping by.
Been knowing that boy since we was teenagers.
Yeah, well, when he had
Long
two touchdowns in the playoffs on the Bears, I didn't appreciate that, but he's a baller, no question about it. But just a couple more here, and then I'll let you go because I know how your day's going. But I guess getting back to that on, how he caught the ball in college, I still, I think most Bears fans still believe in every aspect of Rome's abilities. But how much does that play in, like, the difference between Michael Penix, between Caleb Williams, and how they throw the football? Is there anything there?
It's a difference. Catching the ball from a left-hand quarterback and a right-hand quarterback is different. But when you're training, you catching from right-handed quarterbacks. We just gotta catch the ball.
Well,
we're not gonna make an excuse. So Michael Penix threw the ball this way. We know we gotta catch the ball. I have no doubt in my mind that Rome will be fine. The shit happens.
Yeah.
Like, what you do for a living outside of this?
I was a bricklayer for 20 years.
And I'm sure you done laid some bricks wrong here and there. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like, it happens. Anything you do, we want to be 100%. I will bet my money that Rome will be all right when it comes to playing football. You just don't forget how to catch the ball.
Yeah, not trying to assign blame and not trying to make excuses, but I am just curious, like Caleb's rotations on his balls. Like, is there anything there? Because like a lot of even people that try to intercept passes seem to drop it with him.
That may be the case. But at the end of the day, I don't care how many rotations. I don't care how hard you throw the ball. We just got to catch it.
Right.
And so all of that does not matter. Ball comes to me, I got to make the play. And I believe Rome will be the guy that they need and expected him to be where they drafted him. I have no doubt in my mind about that. Just a blip in the road.
Final thing, Colson Lovely, you talked about how big of a year he's having coming up. You saw his route tree really expand as the year went on, and end of the year, they're going to him every time on third down. What's going to be the biggest key to his success in year 2?
More opportunity. I really believe he's going into his second year. Towards the end of his third year, fourth year, he'll be the best tight end in football.
Oh, yeah. Well, TJ Hushmanzada, thank you for your time, man. Appreciate the work you're putting in for the Bears.
Yeah, take care.
New vehicles are in store at Ray Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram, and this is your chance, Greg Braggs, to score a great deal at the Auto Show sales event. Head to Ray CDJR on Route 12 today to choose from their huge inventory of new Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram vehicles. Right now, get 0%, that's 0% financing for 72 months on their new Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram models. Plus, shop over 125 vehicles priced under $20,000. That's amazing. With a friendly team of brand experts, the team at Ray CDJR is here to help you during each step of your car shopping journey, and we know it can be immensely frustrating if you're looking for a car. So go check out our partner today to shop at one of the Chicago's area's largest inventories and find the right vehicle for you. The team at Ray CDJR is the one we recommend. They're the best out there. Don't miss out on the Auto Show sales event for huge savings and new models. For more information, visit Ray CDJR today on Route 12 in Fox Lake or online at raycdjr.com. They've been serving the community since 1963.
That's right. Shout out to Ray and the good people at Ray CDJR. And shout out to Game Time. Love the Game Time app because they are always giving the advantage back to the fans. It is the hack for unlocking amazing tickets and experiences in just a few taps. Whether it's concerts, sporting events, whatever you're looking for, you're going to hit up Game Time because their app is incredibly easy to use, and the Game Time guarantee means you can trust you'll get 100% authentic tickets on time and at the best price. Plus, most importantly, fees are always included, so what you see is what you pay. They don't try to bait and switch you with a tag listing, and then it ends up being way more than what you signed up for. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code CHGO for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHGO for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. All right, you heard from TJ Hushmanzada working with Rome Odunze and apparently working with Colson Loveland here coming up this offseason. Obviously a big offseason for both those guys, Luther Burden, even I saw somebody in the chat bring up Jahns Walker. I'm excited for, his potential, to develop in this offense. So I'm just curious from your guys' perspective, hearing from TJ, knowing what's on the table for Rome, we can start with, and how he's going to, because I think people are kind of forgetting before the injury, he was their number one wide receiver.
Well, I would bring DJ Moore up, but I think the arguments in the chat will be a little too intense and probably worth their own show. You're right. People forget early on in the season that one of the storylines was that Caleb Williams was throwing too much to Rome Odunze. And then we heard a great explanation from Declan Doyle, started with him, that sometimes Rome Odunze is just number one in the progression. And if he's open, they want Caleb Williams to throw the ball. And more often than not, Rome Odunze was open. Obviously, his heel injury, the stress fracture in his foot, changed his season a bit. Was never the same player as he was early on in the season. But I think we all can agree how important he is to the future of this team.
Well, when you talk about being a number one option and if he's open, throw him the ball, he's one of the best in terms of route running guys that can separate on the football field, whether that's from the metrics that show that or if you just watch the tape.
I'm excited for TJ Houshmandzadeh's colorful language to challenge those guys when they drop the ball. Catch the ball, like he said. Catch the bleeping ball. Look, there's untapped potential for DJ Moore still. Rome Odunze still. Certainly, Colson Loveland, as great as he was, and even he said, like, I'm just scratching the surface. You've got a really good core in place now that you can Luther Burden, like just continue to build with these guys and see through their development track. It's a really bright spot to be, but I do also want that reliable veteran. That's who Olamide Zaccheaus was supposed to be, and there were way too many costly drops there. I want a sure-handed target, somebody who's going to complement those guys well, and somebody you can lean on in those spots when that first progression's not there. You got to find some intermediate throw, and you know you're not going to have a costly drop. So, I'm not as concerned about Rome Odunze, really. Like you mentioned it, like that injury was real. That was something he was fighting through for most of the second half of this season. And I still believe in him as a true number one, somebody who's an ascending player in this league. I like their spot. I really like where this offense and this passing game is taking off, and I don't have many concerns. I think it's going to continue to be arrow pointing up for that group.
You know, the best part about this, too, is that Ben Johnson already set the standard for his receivers going into next season.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he has had, enough of all the drops. And we know, he was pretty diplomatic about those drops throughout the course of the season. But then at the end of the season, wrapping up the season at his final news conference, there he is saying, we have to catch the ball better. He slid that right in there in the middle of a long answer. We have to get better at catching the football. That starts with Rome Odunze. It starts with DJ Moore. It starts with all the wide receivers. Receivers coach Antoine Randall got the message to, this is something to watch come training camp. But, putting in the work with TJ, I'm sure will help as well.
They had, I think, the third most drops in the NFL as a team, but they had the most yards missed because of drops of any team in the NFL. Now, if you look at the teams that are 2 and 3, they're explosive teams. The Rams, I think, were second for most yards missed for drops in the NFL. So I think it does work hand in hand when you're hunting explosives the way the Bears and the Rams do, that you're going to have more drops because they're higher difficulty catches and more yards missed because of those drops because you're going downfield. So I think that's the other part of this equation that we are going to have to embrace, as evaluators and people that watch this and crunch the numbers, is this team is going to hunt explosives. They're not trying to get into the post and feed it to their center for 2 points every time with Zach Edey. They're shooting threes all day long. There's Steph Curry bombs from half court. That's I think what Ben Johnson is looking at. So yeah, I'm sure when he's looking at the tape week to week, he was frustrated because he's like, we're leaving way too much on the table. But the reality is I do think we're going to have, there's going to have to be some allowance to that in that regard for the plays they're trying to execute.
Yeah, not all drops are created equal. Like Kyle Monangai had drops, but dropping a check down is one thing. It's Olamide Zaccheaus dropping a first down for chunk yardage with nobody in front of him in the middle of the field. Like, that's a different drop. It's Rome Odunze dropping the pass at the goal line in a playoff game that ruins a great opening possession for the Chicago Bears. Like, all drops are not created equal. The Kyle Monangai, that needs to be fixed as well, like the drops that he had. But with the receivers, so many explosive plays left on the field because of their bad hands in certain situations.
Yeah.
If you want to be glass half full with it, too, this is still a top 10 offense. The arrow is still pointing up, like I said. They used turning some of those costly drops into big catches. You got your 4,000-yard passer finally. You got an offense that's going to continue to sustain drives instead of punting in big spots. You got an offense that's just going to continue to grow and ascend. And Ben Johnson's frustration on that was real. Like, when you're talking about drawing up these plays and you have everything down to a T, and the guy just can't do the most simple task of the play is catch the dang ball. So, yeah, yeah, you're excited to see about where this offense can continue to go with this.
Well, we played this last week, but since, we brought TJ Hushman's out into the conversation, we're talking about Rome here. I want to let Rome speak on his own behalf in this discussion, even though we played it last week. If you missed it, this was me and Mark Harmon talking with Rome Odunze, and Mark asking him about the drops and how he's going to attack that this offseason.
Ben said after the season, like, we're going to work on catching the football. Do you take that personally? Or is it, I know he's including everyone, but it's like, okay, I hear you, coach. I'll take that on. I'll take that challenge on.
Yeah, I always say catching the ball personally, regardless of who he's talking to directly or indirectly. Is a big emphasis as a receiver. That's what we're supposed to do, is catch the football. So I'm looking forward to doing that next year.
There he is. He's not ducking it, and he knows, right? I mean, this is a guy that was known for having it. The one thing I will say that is surprising, like, I hear TJ, I hear what everybody's saying. I'm not worried about Rome. I think he's going to be a great wide receiver for this team for years to come. But when you watch his college tape, there was so much of this. He'd go out and get the ball. And like that final drop of the season against the Rams, he's letting everything come to his body, like this microphone. Like the microphone. He's letting everything come to his body. And like, that was not what was on tape in college. And Adam, I mean, you can speak to this. Like, to me, that's about confidence, right? Like, it's got to be. I heard we were talking with somebody, so forgive me because I can't get the exact reference point, but they said there's a wide receiver in the NFL that struggled with drops the first few years, and then he revealed that the lines on the football are
Jamar
different.
Chase.
Jamar Chase, right? I think it was you bringing this up. So, like, there's some aspects to this that don't make a lot of sense to me, but that's one thing. Like, I want him to get his hands back out there like I saw so much in college.
And you brought this up to TJ. Like, sometimes Caleb Williams is throwing these fastballs that I think he'll work on. Maybe he doesn't have to throw the 98-mile-per-hour fastball at his receiver on a slant. Maybe he's got to have more touch. And I think Caleb will bring that up. I think that will be part of his self-evaluation. But at the same time, if that ball hits you in your hands, as a receiver, you should catch the ball. And I think a lot of the Bears receivers, even Colston Loveland by the end of the season, had trouble catching some of these Caleb Williams fastballs over the middle.
Yeah. I think the point of confidence is good too, but you're a golfer. How many 5-foot putts do you miss? Like, it's a confidence thing after a while too. Like, those are the routine ones you got to make. You got to throw 10 yards down the middle, catch the ball. I'm not as worried about it. I think it's going to come back to the norm. I think you're going to be okay with this in the long run.
Well, I mean, it's the first year of the offense, so they're all getting comfortable. Quarterback, line, wide receivers, everyone. And it's your second year now, third year with Caleb and Rome, but second year in the offense between these two guys. So, like, chemistry, continuity, consistency, all that stuff is going to play into it. Obviously, health and confidence, and those things are also a big part of the equation as well. So, we're wrapping things up here shortly.
I got a question for you guys before we go.
Go ahead.
All right, since we're on the topic of wide receivers, I wrote a column about about DJ Moore last week, and I'm learning that I think DJ Moore, the conversation around DJ Moore, like, reminds me of the conversation around Justin Fields, like the end of his tenure. Like, some fans wanted him to go, some fans wanted him to stay. Where do you guys stand on the DJ Moore conversation? I think he should stay at least for one more year. I don't care what the contract says. I don't care what the production says. I think the Bears are a better team with DJ Moore. Where do you guys stand on this?
I saw your column. I completely agree. And I think I would preface it, too, by saying, like, I'm curious if there's going to be that kind of significant trade market when you're talking about that kind of contract versus a drop in production. I believe in DJ Moore. I think he's somebody that you want to have on this team. He's somebody that, as Caleb Williams, you want to continue to develop that chemistry with going into their third year together. I think you're better, as you said, better with him than without him. So, look, unless some team is beating the drums saying, we want him, we're going to take on this contract, we're going to give you this and that, I'm perfectly fine bringing him back and having him being a key part of this team.
Yeah, I mean, I like DJ Moore. So I'm not going to take this opportunity then, like, to say if I understand the argument of, he's like, what, the 7th highest paid wide receiver in football, or 6th, something like that. I mean, he's up there, right? He's ahead of some of the big dogs in the league. And just from the way this offense lays out now, he's just not getting that kind of production. So you're clearly not getting what you're paying for. Now, what what he is to the team, that's a different conversation. Just take the money off the table. Odunze got hurt. Luther Burden was hurt throughout the year. You need depth at wide receiver. Olamide Zaccheaus, it wasn't exactly the veteran Phil we thought he was going to be coming out of training camp, where it felt like he was Caleb's security blanket. That being said, when you look at the wide receivers that were on the Detroit Lions roster when they had 70 touchdowns, like, we're not talking about, they didn't have, like, we have a spoil. I think Bears fans need to understand. We do have a spoil of the riches here in Chicago.
It's okay.
That is okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But I also think that Ben Johnson has proven that he can get big time elite offensive production with less. And you're considering year 2 of Luther Burden and Colston Loveland. Because Colston has to be, every time we talk about this, we're like leaving the tight ends out of the equation. Well, Colston Loveland might be your number 1 wide receiver next year. So, you know, if you're playing the numbers game and you're talking about how many catches each player is going to get versus how much we have to pay to allocate to the salary cap, it does make, if you can get off of that contract, similar to, I was talking to Gary Ross about Amari Cooper and the way the Cowboys got rid of him. Like, if it's something like that where you can get out of that contract, I think as an organization you might have to consider it just based off of how many other needs they need to fill. But I'm not going to complain if DJ Moore's on the team next year. He made some of the biggest catches in Bears history this year, right? And there was injuries. Odunze wasn't playing in that Packers game when DJ Moore makes the greatest catch in my life as a Bears fan, where I'm crying the next day because of the win over the Packers. So I think those are things you have to consider when it comes to DJ Moore. But I don't think getting out of that contract is off the table by any means.
I just think going into year 2 of Ben Johnson, like, don't obsess over ranking like what option DJ Moore is in the offense. Like, sometimes he's the number 1 option based on what the matchups are, based on availability. Like, when the Bears beat the Packers in the regular season, they didn't have Odunze or Luther Burden. Neither player was active. Who was the number 1 option? DJ Moore.
Right.
And did he deliver? Oh, yes, he did. Some of the most memorable plays of the season, probably in recent Bears history. Ben Johnson wants playmakers. And playmakers, and even more playmakers. The Bears aren't in a position in year 2 of his offense, with Caleb Williams still growing and learning all the nuances of this offense, to get rid of playmakers. Don't worsen a position when you don't have to. I know the Bears are over the cap, but we all know it's fluid. It could take 1 or 2 moves, and they're under the cap. That's how easy this is in the NFL. I don't think the Bears are in position to make their team worse by getting rid of DJ Moore. That could change in a year when you know with certainty that Odunze is a number 1 wide receiver, that Luther Burden is close to being a number 1 wide receiver, and Colston Loveland is a superstar tight end. The conversations can change in a year, but going into 2026, this season, I still think you need DJ Moore.
Yep, I'm with you on that. Unless some team wants him to a point where, like, it's valuable to trade him, you're getting so much back, it makes sense, and you're getting the salary cap savings, sure. But I want DJ Moore on this football team if all things are equal. I don't see a scenario in which you're getting that offer. So bring him back. Make him. You said it well, man. Ben Johnson wants playmakers. He's got plenty of them out there. DJ Moore's a fit for this team. He's a fit for everything you're doing. He's somebody who wanted that locker room. Perfectly fine if he's back.
Yeah, not going to fight you there, but it's certainly going to be something that is going to continue to be a topic of conversation. But he did deliver last year. Unlike me, I did not deliver on hitting overtime. Carm Sweet Bippy hit overtime in the chat, but I did not hit overtime. So
I didn't hit it either.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to throw my producer under the bus. That's why I was looking at him.
You were mid-sentence. You had a good thought. I'm going to let you have this one.
I
he
can't
said
tell
that
you.
with his shoulders shrugging.
Yeah. Well, it's just not a good look, because I'm just so timely with that stuff when I'm in the third chair. But heavy lieth the crown in the captain's seat. Hoag's like, see, it's not so easy, is it? It is not, especially when you got Patrick Norton just over here hovering because of his love for Chris Emma. You should have heard it, Chris, before you came in. He was so upset that he couldn't be a part of the dais today because the affinity he has for you. I don't know if you're aware of this, but he was man crushing earlier.
It's my guy. He's in the seat tomorrow, though, right?
Right here.
So the world gets to see his new beard.
Yeah,
that's what I'm understanding.
Yeah.
Wow, it's gonna be a big moment for you.
Everyone caught a glimpse of that on the Hogan Jahns last week, but it's filling in.
I told him it's filling in this week because I think he's going to shave it for the combine to be all professional.
He's going to shave it now after this.
But this week, I almost feel like he should. I almost feel like he shouldn't because it's starting to fill out. Whereas last week, Chris, I thought is he, becoming an alcoholic? Is he going through something really that's what it looked like last week. But this week, it just looks like a full-fledged beer.
He's entering the chat, I think, right now. He's typing angrily over there.
Something angry about you here.
Yes, angrily typing like that cat, the gif of the cat banging the keyboards. Let's get through I know you favorited a couple of things here. Jahns does have to go. He's got his whole family here. We appreciate everybody hanging out. Hit the like button. Mr. Ferrier here has a question for Jahns and Emma, and he's asking, do you believe the big pass rusher dominoes will fall before the draft, or will there still be an opportunity to get a good free agent defensive end after the draft?
Go ahead, Chris.
Look, man, the guys who are there after the draft are usually there for a reason, and they're waiting because there's something involved with the medicals you're concerned about, like Trey Hendrickson, for example, coming off this surgery. You wonder if he's going to be a pre-draft signing or if they got to wait and see if everything checks out. I think most of that action is coming before the draft, and the Bears will be heavily involved for sure.
Sometimes, though, you get the team that releases a player in a certain position that's like for the Bears, for example, when they drafted Tevin Jenkins, and then they released Charles Leno Jr. Sometimes once they add to that position, they continue that investment in a certain position, they release a player in that position. So maybe there's always a few surprises.
But those are complementary pieces, too.
Right.
That's not the big ticket.
Depends what you're looking for.
Yep.
Well, and as Patrick Norton pointed out earlier, with Max Crosby, there's a lot, and I'll let him speak on this tomorrow because I thought it was a very good point, but when he talked about Max Crosby, he thinks it's a misconception that a lot of fans think he's going to be traded before the draft, where the cap hit for the Raiders is actually more beneficial for them to cut him after. He said we were talking about DJ.
Time to go.
It's time to go. I thought you were talking about Max. I don't care about DJ. I was talking about Max. So clip it. Pat Norton ruins my life every single day. And that was him.
Carm missed
setting
a good
me
show
up.
today.
Huh?
Carm missed a good show today.
Yeah, he did. We
Not at
miss
all.
Carm.
Assuming.
It is the meatball meltdown hour. That's what we called this a long time ago. But Chris, before we head out, any other final thoughts? Big picture. Obviously, you're doing great work on 104.3 The Score.
Thank you.
Excited for the
Appreciate
transition over there. Shout out to the OG 670. It's
we
almost
go.
like calling it the Sears Tower.
Still 670. It's
Like,
still known
right.
as 104.3. It's still on 670 AM, FM dial as well. Look, it was such a fun season. I did this the last two games. So after the win against the Packers in the playoffs, and then after the loss against the Rams, just driving down Lakeshore, I pulled over in Grand Park, seeing the skyline with the bear down in the building and a blue and orange. It was a heck of a year. And the beauty of it is, I've said on this show, this isn't going away. I think this team's going to be really good and really fun for a while. It was a joy to cover this year, and I think there's some really good years ahead.
Yeah, it's exciting. It is exciting.
We got a super chat coming at the end.
Shout out to Alex. Alex
Amerling.
Alex. Well, it could be Alexa Merling.
It's not.
How do you know? It's
Alex has been in the chat.
Alex
for
Amerling
several
or
years.
Alexa Merling. $2 super chat. Says low-key trade idea, Jordan Davis.
The Eagles' defensive tackle.
Yeah, for sure. And we're definitely going to be having more defensive tackle talk here coming up because that's definitely it's not just defensive end that they need to clean up here on this defensive line. You're going to be looking at the interior as well. Shout out once again to Iceberg for gifting the 20 CHGO Sports YouTube memberships. We appreciate you, Iceberg, as always. You're a great guy, and I know everybody appreciates that as well. As I mentioned earlier, CHGO Bears After Dark is back. We're moving to every other week here in the off-season, at least up until the draft. So we're going to get 5 episodes of CHGO Bears After Dark until draft day actually comes. So Fran Duffy, our All-City draft analyst and expert, is going to join us tonight and going forward on Monday nights every other week to look at some different position groups And wouldn't you know it, we're going to continue to look at the defensive line. So Shane Marsaw, Phil Atoshian, as always, will be joining me, who do great draft work in their own right. And we're going to be having a great conversation with Fran Duffy. So if you enjoyed our conversation here today, join us tonight at 7 p.m. Central for more conversation. Chris, Emma, thank you for joining us as Patrick is distracting me.
He tunes in elsewhere.
Baseball right around the corner. I'm going to be at spring training in a couple weeks, so I'm excited for that.
How did you get that?
Yeah, well, you got to move. That's the benefit of being in the studio. You hear things that are going on.
I'm in the studio, Braggs.
Yeah, well, I guess your ears weren't perked up
listening well enough.
Yeah, you're too busy working.
That's where I screwed up. I
was too busy angling to get on the Arizona trip. Friday 120 Club. I got to be there. So excited for that. Make sure you sign up for that trip. It's not just me going. We're all going as a company. So if you go to allchgo.com/events, you can sign up for this trip. We have a golf outing on Friday. Lance Briggs is going to be joining us. We're going to multiple Cubs spring training games. Even White Sox spring training game is an option, or games. We're going to a Phoenix Suns versus Bulls game as well. So I'm going to be having a great time while you guys are working. Patrick Norton continues to distract me. He wants to take Chris Emma out to lunch, and Adam Jahns needs to get out with his family. So that wraps things up for the Midwestern Goodbye. I promise an hour 10. It's an hour 10. We'll see you tonight for CHGO Bears After Dark.
We all silly like the mayor.